There we go. Can everybody hear me okay? Yeah? Marvelous. Okay, super duper. So, guys, welcome to Pelvic Floor Pilates Part 2. This evening, we are going to start from sitting, ideally up on a bolster or some blocks or some cushions. And you're also going to need this evening something like a yoga block or brick, or if you haven't got one of those, a ball or a folded up cushion will do the job absolutely fine. And I've also got a stool this evening, and a chair of some description will also be really useful. So if you've got all of those little bits to hand, that would be really great. And we are going to begin just by settling ourselves onto our prop. So we're a little bit elevated and bringing the soles of the feet together in prayer. If that's not comfortable for you, you can adjust your leg position. So most importantly, I want you to be comfortable and be able to feel relaxed in your seated position. But if we're up a little bit higher onto a bolster or a stack of cushions, then we're going to be able to rotate our pelvis forward, almost like your tailbone is slightly lifting upwards. So if you think about this little diamond shape that's our pelvic floor that we talked about last month, whenever it was. We're going to bring that diamond shape and we're going to lower it until it's parallel to the floor. So adjust your pelvis until you feel that your perineum, your pelvic floor, is parallel to the floor and maybe just very slightly lifting into your tailbone. Here comes Elizabeth. And then we're going to just settle in to that seated position, into that seated awareness. Okay, guys, I'm just bringing a couple more people in. So just while we bring a few more people in, we're just going to just get really nicely settled. Hello, Elizabeth. And also Caroline. All right. So for those of you, in actual fact, I think most of you were with me for part one. Otherwise, you will more than likely have received part one and maybe had a chance to have a little look at some of the session notes or remember some of the session notes. So in part one, we discussed the benefits of paying attention to the health of our pelvic floor. And we were talking about things like enhanced bowel and bladder control, the alleviation of pelvic pain. We were talking about strengthening after surgery, being able to, in particular, relax over tight muscles. We talked about the fact that our muscles might not necessarily be too tight, too weak, but they might be too tight and need to be lengthened and stretched. And also that we can release emotional trauma in our pelvic floor. So we were thinking about whether we had hypertonic or hypotonic muscles, and then we also did a little bit of anatomy. And in the session notes for part two, hopefully you will have a little chance to have a look at them and see that we've gone into a little bit more detail with the anatomy, particularly of the muscles of the pelvic floor in the 3 layers. And also we've gone into a little bit more detail about some of the pelvic floor dysfunction that we may be experiencing, and in particular the differences between having stress and urge incontinence. So hopefully you had a little chance to have a look at all of those. So we are going to do a little bit of progression on from some of the stuff that we were looking at in part one. So for those of you that have just joined me, we're bringing the awareness of the shape of our pelvic floor. So this lovely sort of little diamond shape from the pubic bone, here where my fingertips are, to the tailbone, here where my thumbs are touching. And we're bringing that pelvic floor so that it's parallel to the floor. So a little tiny forward rotation with your pelvis, as if your tailbone is just slightly lifting upwards. And then just let your arms relax to your sides. Lengthen out through the crown of your head. And then for a few moments, I'm going to get you maybe soften your gaze or close your eyes and tune in to the rhythm of your breath. So we're tuning in to the easy rhythm of your breath. And your breath can flow in through your nose and out through your nose, or in through your nose and out through your mouth, whatever you prefer. And to begin with, I want you to feel that perhaps your breath is in your chest and in your upper back. So feeling that sense of your movement, the rising and falling of your chest as you breathe. And actually, this was something that we were talking about at the end of the session, Maya, wasn't it? That sometimes it's quite difficult to be able to get your breath to go downwards and more deeply. So I'm going to get you just to do your best, guys. I'm going to get you to, as you focus on that breath, to see if we can send our breath from our chest just into the rib cage. So as we breathe in, we're not only expanding into the chest, but we also feel that the rib cage starts to move. And as you exhale, you feel that your chest sinks and your rib cage contracts. And that you're breathing not only into the front of your ribs, but into the sides of the ribs and into the back of the ribs. So when we're trying to bring our awareness to our pelvic floor, we're beginning with full body breathing. Try and get the entire body to relax, but also to bring our attention to the whole body. Next time you breathe deeply in, feel that you're filling up your chest, your ribs, and your abdomen, your belly, with your breath. And then as you exhale, you're squeezing all of the air from your chest, your ribs, and your abdomen. Breathing in and drawing everything up. And exhaling and sending everything back down. As everything closes in, the breath is coming down. And you're feeling that perhaps you're breathing into the lower back, as well as the middle back and the upper back, as well as into your side body, as well as into your front body. Very nice, good. And we're drawing the breath in and drawing it up. And then as you exhale, I'd like you to breathe right to the end of the exhale, as if you're sending your exhale all the way down to your perineum, to your pelvic floor. And then drawing it up from the pelvic floor into the belly, ribs, and chest. And then exhaling it all the way back down again. And breathe to the end of the exhale, as low down into your entire body as you can. And all the way back up. Very well done. And we're just going to do that 2 more times this evening. But if it's something that you find that you are enjoying, or that it feels really good for you, or you feel that you want to practice it a little bit more, you can always just press pause and stay with this breath for a little bit longer. Otherwise, we're going to do our last round of breath, all the way up and all the way down into the pelvic floor. Exhaling to the end of the exhale. Very well done. And then just allow your breath just to return to a lovely, natural, steady rhythm. And you may have noticed that it's already feeling a little deeper, more even and more slow, which is a really good thing. And then we're going to bring our awareness back to that activation that we learned in part 1. So if I give you this little triangle or diamond shape again here, the front pelvic floor muscles are here at the pubic bone. The back pelvic floor muscles are here where my thumbs are representing your tailbone or your coccyx. Okay, good. And then I'm just going to get you to visualize that this is like a little tiny springy trampoline that supports all of your internal organs. And you also had some really lovely diagrams, which if you had got a chance to look at, maybe will help you with those visualizations. So let us begin then by just isolating the muscles at the front of our pelvic floor. So I want you to feel as if you can draw your pubic bone into the middle of that diamond shape. As if you're pulling your pubic bone into the center and then releasing. So that pubic bone isn't going anywhere, but hopefully it will bring your attention to the muscles, the musculature that surrounds that front of your pelvis, your pelvic floor, and that you can actually start to just feel that they're firing up just with that little bit of awareness and activation. And your pelvic floor muscles are like any other muscle in your body. So just keep practicing, contracting and releasing. And it takes practice for these muscles to get strong. Okay, really good. Let's just do a couple more here. Just really focusing on those front pelvic floor muscles. And relax for a moment. Okay, good. Just make sure your seat is really nice and comfortable. Then we're going to bring our awareness to the muscles around the back of the pelvic floor. And so focusing on that area of your coccyx, your tailbone. And now imagining that you're trying to pull those muscles into the center of that diamond. Drawing them inwards and relaxing them. And this can sometimes be a little bit more tricky. So again, it might take a little bit of practice. And as you focus on these activations into your pelvic floor muscles, I'm going to get you to try and stay nice and serene and relaxed in your shoulders and in your neck and in your jaw, and even in the expressions in your face, if possible. So we're just focusing on that little activation then, drawing inwards and releasing. So just a few of the things that we did in part one, we're just going over them again. And then we're just going to revisit some of those techniques and then use them in some slightly different ways throughout part two. And you're going to relax there for a few moments. Really nice. So then if you remember, we tried to bring the muscles at the front and the back of the pelvic floor towards each other into the center and then release away again. And then we were picking up an imaginary little pea or bean and lifting it upwards and inwards. So let's start off by trying to bring those front and back pelvic floor muscles towards each other. As if you're trying to bring the pubic bone and the tailbone into the center. Again, relax the shoulders, neck and jaw and allow those muscles to relax. Very nice. Again. And then as you draw those muscles towards each other, let's see if we can feel the sensation of drawing inwards and then lifting upwards. And then lowering down and releasing. So if you remember, I talked about slow twitch and fast twitch muscle fibers. And here we're training those endurance training for our pelvic floor. So we're slowly activating and then elevating and then controlling the lowering and the releasing. So strengthening the slow twitch muscle fibers. You can do that 1 or 2 more times. Really nice. And then have just a little rest once more. And then we're going to just finish this little seated section here with those little quick flashes. So if you remember, we want to also train our fast twitch muscle fibers, which are the ones that will respond to providing that support that's necessary if you do something like cough or sneeze or laugh, and you want those muscles to contract to avoid having a little leak. So let's now, just without tensing into the upper body, just do these little quick, tiny pulses or flashes. Do maybe 10. And then have a little rest. And then we'll just do another 10. So just a quick little pulse or flash. Very well done. All right. So that's just a quick recap from things that we were doing in session 1. So from here, I'm going to get you to, in your own time, just ease yourselves around to all fours. I need to come around to all fours. I'm just going to pop you up onto my bigger screen so I can see you a little more easily. There we go. All right, so we're going to come to all fours and spread your hands out wide. Your hands are under your shoulders, your knees are under your hips. And then I'm going to get you just to softly begin to move your pelvis as if you're imagine you've got a tail actually attached to your tailbone. It could be any tail you like. It could be a cat's tail or a fox tail. I don't know, just any lovely, bushy, lovely, voluptuous tail that comes to mind. And you're just trying to draw that tail towards the back of your skull. So relax your shoulders, lift your head up. And when your back is hollow, your pelvic floor muscles are in their most lengthened stretch position. And then we're going to just allow the pelvis to tuck in the opposite direction. So you're going to drop your head between your arms. Gently draw your pubic bone towards your forehead so your spine flexes, and in this position your pelvic floor muscles actually contract. So we're just going to contract them for a little moment and then allow them to start to lengthen again. And as you lengthen your pelvic floor muscles, you're softening your shoulders and you're drawing that lovely tail towards the back of your skull. And again, draw the pubic bone towards your forehead, lengthening into your arms, flexing your spine, contracting into your abdominals and your pelvic floor. And then as we go in the other direction, we're hollowing the spine, lengthening the belly and lengthening the pelvic floor muscles as you draw that tail towards the back of the skull. Very nice. This is just encouraging a gentle stretch into those pelvic floor muscles. So as I mentioned before, keep going a couple more times. We might have hypertonic pelvic floor muscles, which means they're overly tight. And we also might have hypotonic pelvic floor muscles, which means they are weak or unresponsive. So we maybe it's important that we know what type of pelvic floor issues that we've got, but if we also do both types of training, getting the muscles to stretch and to strengthen, then we're going to sort of be at least promoting the health of our pelvic floor in the best way that we can. Very well done. After your last little pelvic tilt in both directions, very, very well done. We're just experimenting to see how our pelvic floor is responding to the movements that we're performing. I'm going to get you to come and lay all the way down on your front. Now, when you're laying down on your front, you might like to use a little blanket or towel under your hips if you feel that you want to just get a better connection with your hip bones. Or you might just like to use a little folded up blanket under your forehead. So you're very welcome to pop into place anything that you feel you need. And then we're going to just come and lay all the way down on your front. If you're using a little prop under your hip bones, just make sure it feels comfortable. Lengthen your legs away from you, and then you can rest your forehead onto your hands or onto a folded up blanket or cushion if you prefer. And first of all, I'm going to get you just to completely relax through your shoulders and neck and jaw. And we're going to do the same little pelvic tilt movement that we were just doing from cat stretch, all fours. We're going to do that same movement here laying on our front. So resting your forehead down, I'd like you to begin by drawing your tailbone as if you're drawing it towards the back of your skull. Feel that your lower back muscles shorten and tighten, but your pelvic floor muscles lengthen. And then you're going to bring your pubic bone as if you're not only just pushing your pubic bone into the floor, but as if your pubic bone will go beyond the floor and rotate inwards towards your chin. And again, you're going to lift that tailbone, relax the shoulders, lift the tailbone as if you're bringing the tailbone back towards the skull. Feel that, or being aware that the pelvic floor muscles here are lengthening, and that as you draw your pubic bone towards your chin, that your pelvic floor muscles shorten or tighten or contract. Very nice. So just do a couple more movements there with your pelvis. Forward and back. And then I'd like you just to relax your pelvis into neutral and feel that your pelvic floor, your perineum, if you like, that diamond shape, is just in a nice neutral position, nicely. So I don't want you to be tucking your tailbone under. So you don't have to have the real lift of your tail towards the back of your skull, maybe just a little bit more neutral, but definitely not tucking under. And then we're going to come into some more of our pelvic floor contractions that we were working with from sitting. So you can literally do pelvic floor contractions anywhere. We're going to do some laying on our front. So let's begin then by imagining that we can draw our pubic bone and our coccyx towards each other into the center of our perineum and release. Drawing inwards and releasing. So if you remember from your notes, we've got 3 layers to our pelvic floor, 3 layers of muscle. And even though they are layers, they also are interwoven. So they are quite magical in the way that they interweave and create this lovely support system for your internal organs. And that we then, if we draw the pubic bone and the tailbone in towards each other, we can then imagine that we're picking up that little P and drawing it up inside us, and then releasing and letting it all go. And we then are working into the diaphragm and a set of muscles called, well, I've always called it the levator ani. And then I was listening to something the other day. Well, they were American, so I guess that might be the reason why the pronunciation was different, or it might be that I was just a bit ignorant about how you pronounce it. But they call it the levator ani, which I just thought was quite funny. So I was calling it that for a while, and then I decided that I would much prefer to call it the levator ani. So there we go. We're just engaging those slow muscle fiber contractions. 2 more times. Drawing the pubic bone and the tailbone as if they're drawing them towards each other, drawing them inwards and upwards. And releasing. Very well done. And when you've done your last one, just let those pelvic floor muscles relax for a moment. And again here, laying on your front, you're going to just go back to those quick little tiny pulses or flashes. So just quick. Let's do 10 little quick ones. Squeeze, release, pulsing or flashing. And then when you've done 10, have a little rest. And then we'll just do 10 more. Flash, 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 squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. At the same time, keeping the shoulders, neck and jaw relaxed. So the focus is just in the pelvis. And then when you've done that last set of 10, we're going to ease ourselves gently up and sink back, not quite into a full child pose. If you rest on your forearms with your tailbone lifted and relax your shoulders and let your head rest down, again, we get a really nice stretch into the pelvic floor, much more than if we sit the bottom right back into the heels. So just bottom is slightly lifted in the air, forehead is resting down, the back gets a little release. Very nice. And we also get that lovely lengthening of those pelvic floor muscles. Well done, everybody. And then you're going to ease yourselves gently all the way back down onto your front. Now, if we have underactive or unresponsive pelvic floor muscles, it often follows that we've also got weak glutes. So if we can strengthen into our buttocks, that's also going to help us to get stronger into the pelvic floor. So we're going to do a little bit of work here now into our glutes when we're laying on our front. So first of all, you can lay down and rest your forehead either on the mat or onto a little prop. It might be a block or a cushion or a folded up blanket. Make sure you're comfortable. Your legs are lengthened out behind you and your arms are down at your sides. Okay, good. And then I'm going to get you just to place your right hand, let me change hands, right hand onto your right buttock. In actual fact, place both hands onto both buttocks. And then I'd like you to just squeeze and fire up the right glute, keep the left one relaxed. And you can feel with your fingers, give your butt cheek a prod and just feel with your fingers that it's tightening. And then keep your shoulders relaxed and just float that right leg off the floor. And you can feel that the glutes are engaged and that the left buttock is relaxed. And I'm going to get you just to stay there for 3 or 4 lovely deep breaths. Feeling that activation into the glutes. Maybe even try and engage into the pelvic floor, but keep the shoulders relaxed. Make sure you're breathing. And then you're going to relax that leg down. And you can also relax your arms down if you wish. All right, really nice. And then we're going to do the same with the left leg. So forehead is resting just lightly, maybe not too high if you don't want to be in a strong back extension. Place your hands back onto your buttocks, firing up the left glute this time. Find a way of getting it to tense up, relax the shoulders, and then floating that left foot off the floor and holding that glute activation again for some lovely deep breaths in and out, maybe 3 or 4 more, squeezing and engaging into the glutes. And you may already have noticed that one of your glutes is a bit stronger than the other, and you're just bringing your awareness to your glute strength and how that is associated to your pelvic floor strength as well. Very well done. Okay, good. So again, these are exercises that you could do more than once on each side, but this evening we're just going to do once on the right, once on the left, and this time, again with your hands on your butt cheeks, I'm going to get you to now engage both of your glutes. Engage, engage, engage. Good, and then see if you can float both of your legs up and off the mat. And if that's really tricky for you or it's vulnerable in your lower back to do that, then you can always just go back to doing single legs instead. But otherwise, feel the glutes engaging, the legs have lifted off the floor, and you may even feel that you can activate into your pelvic floor. Let's just hold there for a couple more lovely breaths. Very well done. And then easing yourselves gently up and back into that sort of almost child's pose. So we sink back towards child pose. You're resting onto your forearms and resting your head down, but your bottom is still lifted into the air so that you can lengthen and send your breath into your pelvic floor. I'm going to stay here for just a couple more deep breaths. And then when you're ready, we're going to ease ourselves gently up. Now, has everybody got a seat close to hand? So I'm just going to bring my little stool in a little bit closer. Do make sure that if you have got a chair or a seat, that it isn't going to slip away from you. Because don't forget, you're on the telly and I can't come and pick you up. So you need to make sure you're safe. So we're now going to just come up to standing. I'm hoping that I'm not going to chop my head off. We're going to then just place your hands onto the seat of your chair and take your feet wide, walk them back until your spine is long. From the tailbone to the crown of the head. You can have a little bend in your knees. Okay, good. And I just want you to feel that just in this stance, you're able to completely relax your pelvic floor. Okay, nice. So this is a really nice supported wide leg stance. And the chair seat is really useful, particularly if you're a little bit tight and it would be difficult for you to do something like this on the floor. But we could also do this resting down on a block, and we could also do this with our hands resting on the floor. And we might try that in a minute, just so you can feel all the different variations. But relaxing your shoulders, bending into your knees a little bit more, and just stretching back so that your pelvic floor muscles are relaxed. You can go as low as feels right for you. Very nice. Just a couple more breaths here. And then we're going to walk back into the seat for a moment. And this time you're going to place your right foot forward, maybe just under the edge of the seat. Bring your body weight down so your hands are on the seat again, and then take your left foot to the back. So you're in a split stance and your feet are parallel and both legs are straight without force. Relax the shoulders. Very nice. Ground into both feet. And just notice how that sensation of grounding into both feet radiates up your legs. You can also feel as if you're pulling your kneecaps up. And did you notice that when you pull your kneecaps up, you activate into your pelvic floor? Did anyone feel that? And then relax the knee. Oh, good, I got a little thumbs up then. Love a thumbs up. Let the thighs or the knee muscles relax. Slide the shoulders back. Make sure that your legs are straight and the front leg is straight. Ground down into both feet. Now I want you to feel that you can energize down into both feet. Slide the shoulders back and now activate your kneecaps. And as you pull your kneecaps up, notice how you can activate into your pelvic floor. You might even feel it in your hamstrings a little bit. And then relax and step in and stand up. Ooh, nice. Well done. Shake out those wrists. Good. All right, so then from here, the left foot is now forward. We come down with the hands onto the seat, and then we step back with the right leg. Check your feet are parallel. Relax the shoulders back and down. Let's go and make sure both legs are straight. Okay, good. You can adjust your leg position if you need to. Now again, press down into the soles of your feet. And that initial pressing down into the soles of the feet is that energy in your body that we can then use. You then draw your kneecaps up. And just notice how drawing your kneecaps up brings your attention to being able to draw up into your pelvic floor. And then you can let everything release and relax. And then we can just do that one again. Press down through the soles of the feet, activate the kneecaps and draw them up. And then feel that as you draw your kneecaps up, you can draw up into imagine that you're drawing up into your groin and feeling your pelvic floor muscles draw upwards. Very well done. And then we release and we step in. And we're going to then just come up to standing. And our next exercise is from standing. And I'm going to get you to get a block or a rolled up cushion or a rolled up towel or something. Now I'm going to use my block this way. So this is about how thick I'd like you to have something between your shins if possible. So just see how you go. All right, nice. Janet, you could always fold yours in half, make it a bit thicker, maybe. See how you get on. So then what we're going to do is pop that prop, whatever prop you're using, I'm going to step back a little bit, between your lower legs. So below your knees, between your lower legs, make sure your feet are parallel. And this is again just to bring your awareness to the muscles in your legs and how we can then draw up into our pelvic floor muscles. So we can do pelvic floor activations from standing. So the first thing I'm going to get you to do is just feel your awareness into your soles of your feet. Good. Feel that your pelvis is in neutral. So there's a tiny little bit of a lift with your tailbone. Let me just turn around sideways. So if anything, a tiny little bit of a lift with the tailbone rather than tucking your pelvis forward and tucking it under. So just maybe neutral or slightly lifted. Okay, good. And then I want you to press your lower leg muscles onto your prop. Good. As you press onto your prop, imagine you're trying to turn your thigh bones outwards. Very nice. And then just feel how you can draw up and then release. Good. So we're going to do that again. So you're going to press. So we're not actually doing the pelvic floor activations yet. We're bringing our awareness of our muscles from our lower leg, pressing onto the prop, pressing inwards. And then as you feel you're pressing inwards, you're drawing upwards, up through the thighs. You may even feel the thighs slightly rotate, and you're activating all around your pelvis. Can you feel that, everyone? Yeah? Okay, great. So we're going to do that 2 more times. Good, so we release and then we fire up again. So you start your activation from your lower legs, pressing inwards. Then you start to bring that energy upwards. Maybe feel that you slightly wrap your thighs back and that you strengthen all around the glutes, all around the pelvis. And then release. Beautiful. When you've done your last one of those, should we do one more? Let's do one more. Inwards and drawing upwards. Very nice. Feel the thighs wrap back, the glutes engage. Just breathing in through the nose and out through the nose, or in through the nose and out through the mouth, and then releasing. Very well done. And then we're going to take that prop, whatever you're using, and bring it higher up. I'm actually going to turn mine this way. I hope you can all see that okay. So I've now got my prop between my inner thighs. And again, the diamond shape of your pelvic floor is neutral, with maybe a slightly more of a lift in the tailbone. That would be preferable to the tailbone tucking under. Okay, so nice and relaxed in your body. And then I'm going to get you to just press your thighs onto your prop. Good. And as you press your thighs onto your prop, see if you can then also draw your pelvic floor muscles inwards and then release. And again, pressing in onto the prop. And then maybe focusing on being able to activate into the front and the back of the pelvic floor. And release. We'll do that a couple more times. Drawing in and drawing up. So sometimes these props can just bring your awareness to how you're using the muscles around your thighs, around your pelvis. Good. And then release. And then you're going to just take your prop away and just pop it down onto the floor, out of the way. And then you can choose to just stand in, again, in neutral. You can keep your hands on your hips if you prefer. And we're going to just go back into that activation now, into your pelvic floor. without that awareness of the legs now. Bring the pubic bone and the tailbone in towards each other, and then the sensation of lifting upwards, releasing back down. Okay, good. Let's do that again. Pubic bone muscles, tailbone muscles come into the center, and then that sense that you're lifting up that little P internally, and then releasing it, lowering back down and relaxing out. Keep the shoulders, neck and jaw relaxed. We're going to just do that a couple more times. So as I mentioned before, you can do your pelvic floor training in any position. You could be standing, chopping vegetables, or washing up at the sink. You could be sitting in your car and driving. You could be laying on your back or laying on your front. So it doesn't matter where you are, there is always the opportunity just to bring your awareness to your pelvic floor. Very well done. In and drop. After the last one, releasing, we're then just going to do those quick little 10 flashes. Flash, good, flash, pulse, good. Try not to let anyone see that that's what's going on down there, up here. And then relax. Again, make sure there's no tension here in the shoulders or in the neck or in the jaw. I'm going to do that again. Just little quick squeezes. Good. So a little bit more attention on this session to the strengthening aspect of the pelvic floor, where in the first session we focused a lot more on the relaxation and understanding how to get those muscles to stretch and relax. Very well done. So if you remember just now, we had that wide stance and we had our hands on the chair seat. So if you're a little bit tight in your hamstrings, you're welcome to come back to that stance there with the chair. Or if you feel that you're a little bit more flexible in the back of the legs, you can just use a prop, and you can have your prop in any position. It can be in any at any height. So for example, I'm going to start with mine this way up, so it's highest height, and I'm going to just place my hands on top of that prop, take my legs out wide, soften into my knees, and draw my tailbone back so my back is nice and flat, lifting my tailbone towards the back of my skull, just to get those pelvic floor muscles to lengthen. So as I mentioned, if this is too low for you, you can come back up and do that on the seat of a chair. Very nice. But we can also explore going deeper towards the floor. And you can bend into your knees even more to achieve that. So don't worry about how much you bend into your knees. You could turn your prop a little bit lower. Just relax the shoulders and breathe all the way down into your perineum. You could bend your knees and take your prop lower again. Very nice, just letting the head relax. And then if you don't feel you need to prop onto your hands at all, you can move that prop away and place your hands on the mat. But again, softening into the knees so that this isn't about force in your hamstrings. This isn't a hamstring stretch. We're in this forward fold with a bend in the knees and the tailbone lifting towards the back of your skull, because we are asking our pelvic floor muscles to lengthen. Very well done. I'm going to get you just to stay there for 1 or 2 more breaths. And then just moving your feet and your hands and your knees and easing yourselves gently back down to the mat. Very well done. Okay, how's everybody feeling? Are we all feeling good? We are. Marvellous. So we are now going to come and rest on our legs onto the seat. So make sure your chair is in a position that's quite comfortable for you, but I'm also going to get you to gather some other props around you so that you can bring a cushion or block under your tailbone and incline your hips. It might be that you also want to have a blanket or a little cushion under your head to make sure that you're really comfortable in your head, neck and shoulders. So take a few moments to get yourselves comfortable, and I do want you to have your bottom reasonably close to your seat so that it's this is like a variation of legs up the wall pose. So you're going to just take a little few moments to settle yourselves down. You're going to bring your prop, whatever you're using, under your tailbone. And then you're going to rest your legs onto your chair. And if your chair edge is hard, get some blankets or cushions to rest your legs on so you're really comfortable. And then you might also, I'm just going to get a bit closer to my seat. You might also want to have something nice under the head as well. So take your time. Your calf muscles are resting on your seat. Your heels are resting on your seat. Then once you're here propped up, I'm actually just going to come and have a quick look because I want, if I can see most of you, I want to make sure you're in a really good position. Let me just have a quick little look. Oh yeah, that looks nice. So we've got pelvic tilt, we've got your legs resting on the seat, and then you've also got your head resting on a little cushion or towel or something comfortable. Very well done. And then when you're now here laying on your back in this lovely rest pose, this is a lovely restorative pose that we're going to stay in now until the end of the session. I want you to just very slightly tilt your pelvis so you're drawing your tail towards you, towards your skull, rather than tucking your pelvis under. So I hope that made sense. So it's as if you're tipping your pubic bone forward, you're not bringing your pubic bone towards your chin. And again, you just need to make sure that that's comfortable in your back, however. So do make sure that that doesn't cause you to feel tight or stressed or overloaded in your back. All right, just going to get myself back up on my props. Okay. So when your pelvis is slightly rotating forward, as we know, when you are slightly lengthened in your belly, your pelvic floor muscles are also lengthening. So if you bring your pubic bone towards you and your tummy muscles are contracting, you're also contracting your pelvic floor muscles. So that's a really good way of kind of, if you're not sure and you're trying to figure it out, if your abdominal muscles are long, then your pelvic floor muscles are also lengthening. Now softening your gaze or closing your eyes. I'm going to get you to tune back into the easy rhythm of your breath. And maybe, as we did at the very beginning of the class, you're going to just feel that you're breathing into your chest. Feel your chest rising and falling. Maybe even feel the sensation of the breath in your upper back. And then the breath goes deeper into the rib cage. So as you breathe in, expanding your rib cage and lifting that breath up into the chest. And then as you exhale, you're sending the breath back down. The chest closes down, the ribs contract. And then we draw the breath back up again. Very nice. And then send the breath back down. Next time you breathe in, expanding your breath into your belly, into your abdomen, into your ribs, into your chest. And exhaling, closing down through the chest and the ribs and sending the breath right down into the belly. Feel all of the air leaving your abdomen. And then bringing that breath back into your belly and also into your lower back. So breathing into the top of the pelvis and exhaling away. And then as we did before, if we can, as we exhale, we're going to send that breath lower and deeper, as if you're trying to send your breath all the way down into your perineum. And then drawing the breath all the way back up into your chest. Keeping that little tilt into your pelvis. So the back is slightly hollow. The pubic bone is slightly rolling forward. Tailbone is drawing towards the back of your skull. You're lengthening into your belly. And therefore we know that we're lengthening into our pelvic floor. Very nice. I'm going to get you just to continue breathing upwards and downwards for a few more moments, just reminding yourself that when we do pelvic floor training, if we start with some breath work, maybe a little bit of relaxation of the pelvic floor muscles, layer in some activation, fast twitch and slow twitch muscle contractions, layer in some more relaxation, stretching. We also this evening layered in some glute strength so that we're aware of how our glute strength is also really connected to our pelvic floor strength. And also perhaps that if we're stronger in the glutes on, say, the right side, it might also follow that our pelvic floor muscles are stronger on the right than they are on the left. So training both sides of our body to become more balanced. And then finishing with some more breath work and relaxation. I'm going to get you just to do 2 or 3 more lovely, long, slow, deep breaths. Drawing the breath all the way up and sending the breath all the way back down into the pelvic floor. And then after your last long, slow, deep breath, let us just return to a natural, steady, easy rhythm of breathing. And just take a few moments to notice how you feel here at the end of the session. And then you're just going to take a little bit of time just to start to move slowly and softly maybe moving your prop away from under your tailbone, and maybe slowly bringing your feet off of the seat and back onto the floor. And then we can ease ourselves gently over onto one side and ease yourselves in your own time, slowly back up to sitting. Oh, very, very well done, everybody. Marvelous. So I hope that you enjoyed your second session of pelvic floor Pilates. And if you've, as always, if you've got any questions, I'm more than happy to stay here and answer them or answer them by email. I am just going to say thank you to everyone here today and in the future who's joined me for the session. Thank you for joining me. And I'm going to say a little quick goodbye, and then I'm going to stop the recording before we do whatever else we're going to do. Chat, if you feel free to chat.